Hello YouTube, this is Blackbeard. I wanted to start by telling everybody who had watched my previous video on the Daniel Holtzclaw trial in case how much I appreciate all the comments that you guys posted on it. I really enjoy hearing people's responses, even the negative ones, and there were plenty of those. The funny thing is, sorry, I'm outside and there are bugs flying around me right now, but anyways, there was a lot of negative responses to it, which I personally don't mind. I understand it's kind of a touchy subject, but the thing that kind of caught me off guard was the amount of negative comments I got from people who say that I was misled and that they truly believe that he is innocent. And that I thought my video was pretty open. I thought I expressed that there was plenty of reasonable doubt in the video. However, people didn't think I pushed it far enough, and that's fine. I know that he has a very strong following of people believing that he is innocent, and I definitely respect that. And please excuse the squeaking. My giant dog is running around with a squeaky toy, so I hope it doesn't bother anybody too much. And anyways, I really enjoyed all of the interaction that I got from people out there on the video. I hope that I continue to get it. I hope that people continue to talk about this. That's one thing that we can't do. If there's a problem with this case, I want people to talk about it. I don't want it to just get swept under the rug, especially if he is innocent, in which case they need to keep up the fight, and we need to keep talking about this until it's proven one way or another. I've actually signed a petition online, and this petition is asking for a retrial for Daniel Holtzclaw, which I 100% support. He deserves a retrial, and it's not that I truly believe he is innocent. If you watch the video, you know I think that he is guilty. I don't think he should have been convicted, and that's purely because I think the state did a really bad job with it. But I do believe that he deserves a retrial just because of that. I don't believe... somebody also passed along a petition to me saying, hey, this is a petition to get him released right now. I would not sign that. I don't believe he should be released right now. I believe he needs the retrial because it looks like he's guilty, and chances are he is. So the last thing we need to do right now is put this guy back out on the street. But anyways, that's just a little intro. Actually, this video isn't even supposed to be about him. I apologize for rambling on that. I actually wanted to bring up a different case that I found very interesting. I actually, funny enough, discovered this case because I am a habitual watcher of Forensic Files. I love that show. But anyways, one of the cases that caught my eye on Forensic Files was the Darlie Routier case. If anybody's not familiar with that, the episode itself is on YouTube. It's about it was a woman who's from northern Texas. It was a suburb of Dallas, I believe. And she was convicted of killing her 2 young sons. She had a 5-year-old son and a 7-year-old son that she was convicted of murdering. And she is currently the only woman in the state of Texas that is on death row. This happened in 1996. She has yet to have been executed as well. Anyways, this case is a lot different than the Holtzclaw case to me, but it interests me anyways. The reason it's different is because, unlike the Holtzclaw case, this case had a lot of solid forensic evidence. When I first saw it, I mean, I was like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. You know, obviously she did it. You know, I like to question these things. But, you know, I never thought twice about it. But then, you know, some time passed, I started thinking about this a little more. And some things bugged me a little bit about the case. And I started doing a little research into it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this video into 3 different parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about the forensics of the case. The second part, I'm going to talk about the parts of it that bugged me a little bit, the non-forensic parts of the case that bugged me a bit. And the third part, I'm going to end it the same way I ended the previous video. I'm going to give you my opinion on the case, whether I think that she did it, and how I would have voted if I sat on that jury. Anyways, I got my little note sheet here because I don't want to ramble on too much. The first part I'm going to talk about the forensics. And the forensics were really solid in this case. What happened was, after her sons were murdered, she claimed that an intruder came into her house and killed her, or no, obviously didn't kill her, killed her 2 sons, slit her throat, which she did have a really big gash in her throat, cut her arm, and then left. And the evidence that they had against her was, A, there was no evidence of an intruder whatsoever. There was a lot of blood spatter evidence. I'm not going to go too deep into this because this would just take forever, but there was a lot of blood spatter evidence, such as, it showed that she walked through the crime scene with bare feet, left her footprints, but there were no other footprints in the blood, so she was the only person that walked through it. There was blood spatter on her shirt that showed that she sounded like, it made it seem like she was swinging a knife. Dude, will you go away? Sorry. And the biggest piece of evidence for me was that the intruder, it was claimed that the intruder cut through a screen porch window, like the metal screen, with a knife to get in. However, they found a knife in her house that had fiberglass, which I guess that's what the screen windows are made of, that had a piece of it on there, and it matched identical to her window. And so, I mean, it linked that knife to cutting that particular screen. It didn't match any other screen in her house. So, I mean, unless she, for some reason, cut that screen at another time with that exact same knife, left it in the house without cleaning it, which is unlikely. You use a knife, you clean it. Then that knife was used. So, obviously, somebody's not going to break into your house, steal a knife, cut the screen, go put the knife back, and then leave. So, I mean, when watching this, it's just like, I mean, she's lying, okay? Now, you may be listening to this thinking, why the hell are you talking about this case? It's very clear that she did this. Well, here's where it gets a little tricky. When a prosecutor wants to try a case, when they want to bring a case to court, they're thought of to need 3 things. That's means, motive, and opportunity. She had the means. She had the opportunity. As hard as anybody could look into this, they could not find a motive. They just couldn't find one. It wasn't money. It wasn't that she was angry. It wasn't that she was unhappy. I mean, they had like the perfect family life. They couldn't find any like real issues with money. They couldn't find any issues that she was abusing drugs or suicidal. Kind of red flags that would show that she is seriously mentally unstable. And she would have to be beyond mentally unstable to kill 2 of her kids. The only motive that they were ever able to come up with was that these kids were cramping her style, that her husband was a dead weight. He didn't ever help with the kids, and she was tired of it, and she wanted to get rid of the kids so that she can live a free life. The one problem with that is she had 3 kids. She had 3 sons. Oldest one was 7, middle son 5, and the youngest son was, I think he was 18 months. Don't quote me on that, but he was really young. And for some reason, she decided to kill her 2 oldest sons, but leave her youngest one still alive. That to me makes no sense whatsoever. If the kids are cramping your style, the youngest one's cramping your style the most. So it just doesn't make any sense. It does not benefit her in any way, the way I can see it, if that is her motive in order to have a calmer life. Yeah, having an infant or a toddler is not a calm life. I have 2 kids, I know. And that's another thing, is she showed no signs of mental instability. She didn't have a drinking or a drug problem. She wasn't suicidal. Those are the 2 red flags. You would think you would see something like that in her life before she takes the step to killing her kids. Because like I said, I am a father. I could not imagine the thought of that thought ever popping into my head. And for that thought to pop into your head and to go so far as to do this, there had to be some kind of huge emotional problem there of some kind. And she showed 0 evidence of that. So, I mean, that's the part that bugs me. Is there's no reason. That doesn't make sense. I mean, motive to me is important. And there's just 0 motive here. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to say about this case. Do I think she did it? Hell yeah, I think she did it. There's a lot of evidence against her, forensic evidence that points directly to her. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty clear. If I was sitting on that jury, I would have voted guilty. Absolutely. I would have second guessed it for those reasons that I just gave. I would have thought about it every day for the rest of my life. Did I make the right choice? Did she do it? She has maintained her innocence. Still to this day, she sits on death row. Again, she still has not been executed. I'm still doing a little research into this. I might do a follow-up. One of the interesting facts that I did find out is that the forensic scientist who did the blood spatter evidence, who found the blood spatter evidence and did the testimony at her trial, he has made mistakes in the past. His name is Tom Bevel. There was a guy that sat on death row for 13 years under his testimony. His testimony mainly is what put him away. 13 years later, they had more advanced DNA testing, and they were able to prove that DNA from a known serial killer actually was at this person's house, and it proved that he didn't do it. It didn't necessarily prove it, but it gave all the reasonable doubt that they needed, and he was immediately released from prison. So whatever, I'm not exactly sure the blood spatter evidence he brought forth, but clearly it was wrong. And so that makes you think. Yeah, you know, the way you lay out the forensic evidence, sure, it all makes sense. It looks like, not only does it make it look like she's the killer, but it makes it in a person's eyes, that's proof. That's the proof they're looking for. That's the smoking gun. That is how we're gonna vote guilty. However, that story about Tom Bevel just makes you think. I want it to make people think. These people aren't perfect. They're human beings. They're doing a job. People make mistakes. Now, you obviously can't use that as your only reasoning behind, okay, well, you know, maybe they made a mistake. Let her go. No, obviously you can't do that. However, that combined with what I talk about, the absolute lack of a motive in this case, it makes me think about it. Like I said, if I was on that jury, I would have voted guilty. She still would have gone to prison. I would have gone on living my life, but I would have thought about it. And I'm still thinking about it. And I want people out there to think about it. Darlie Routier, like Daniel Holtzclaw, does have a very strong following. There are petitions going around for her to be released. I want to know, am I missing anything? I want to know, what have you read? What have you heard? There's definitely more to this story. Obviously, I don't know it all, so I want people to watch this. I want them to comment. I want you to tell me, what am I missing? What do you think? Do you think she's guilty? If you don't think she's guilty, why? What piece of evidence sticks out to you? Is this something that I listed wrong? Is it something I ignored altogether? If you think she's guilty and you have a motive, I want to hear what this motive is, because again, I'm stumped. I really cannot think that she had any motive whatsoever to kill her two sons. Anyways, that's it for this. I really hope that some people watch this. I hope some people comment on this. I'm really looking forward to what people have to say on this. Anyways, this is Blackbeard signing out.